Yes. Well, good evening, council, staff, guests, and residents of the municipality. It's Wednesday, September the 3rd, 2025, and I'd like to welcome you to our planning public meeting, our zoning bylaw amendment 38 of 2024 for 5309 and 5310 Layton Street in Wanstead. This is a public meeting to discuss the noted zoning bylaw amendment. Consideration of the ZBA will take place as part of the September 29th planning meeting. Although there is no virtual participation tonight due to our use of the facilities, the meeting will be streamed live and recorded for the town's viewing on the town's YouTube page. Although we are not in the town's council chamber, I would remind you the same protocol, procedures, and professionalism will take place. There will be no exceptions. For those with your communication devices, I would ask you to please either shut them off or place them on vibrate. I would also share with you as well, there's a water cooler to the back at the south side. If you feel you need for some water, please get up and help yourself. As I mentioned, this meeting will be streamed live and recorded for public viewing on the town's YouTube page. We acknowledge that this land on which we are gathered today is part of the ancestral land of the Chippewa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples, referred to collectively as the Anishinaabe. It is through the connection of the Anishinaabe with the spirit of the land, water, and air that we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together, as treaty people, we have a shared responsibility to act with respect for the environment that sustains all life, protecting the future of those generations to come. Members of council, I would ask you if you have a pecuniary interest to please declare it at the appropriate time. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment has been submitted by Monteith Brown Planning Consultants on behalf of Patrick Belanger, Cornerstone Group. The application is to amend the town of Plympton-Wyoming's comprehensive zoning bylaw 97 of 2003 by changing the zoning of 5310 Layton Street in Wanstead from rural commercial dash exception 2 bracket C3 bracket 2, rural commercial C3 bracketed, and agricultural 4 bracket A4 to updated rural commercial exemption 2 C3 bracket 2 zone. The updated C3-2 zone would permit a livestock trailer washing facility with a minimum interior side yard setback of 9 meters, minimum setback of 6.8 meters between a driveway and a street line, and permit a minimum of 10 parking spaces and a minimum of 5 trailer parking spaces for the use. The proposed amendment would also amend the zoning bylaw by changing the zoning of 5309 Layton Street in Wanstead from agricultural 4 bracket A4 to a new rural commercial exemption 3 bracket C3-3 zone that would permit a trailer drying unit, parking spaces for the proposed livestock trailer washing facility located at 5310 Layton Street, and any of the permitted usages in the agricultural A4 zone, as well provide regulations that require a minimum front yard setback of 4 meters and a maximum lot coverage of 31%. It's my pleasure this evening to introduce our council. We have Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen, Councilor Bob Wolvett, Councilor Mike Vasey, Councilor Alex Bojan, Councilor Kristen Rodriguez, Councilor John Van Clavern, as well as our staff. We have Mr. Adam Sabansky, our Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Paul De Silva, our Director of Public Works, Aaron Kwarchuk, our Clerk, Corinne Nada from the county, our Chief Building Official, Jordan Falkers is one of our presenters this evening, Will Nyweening, Jessica Vandenberg, Kelly Bedard, Diane Gould-Brown, our planning technician, and Nicole Campbell, administrative support staff. Council, I'll take you to item 7.1 on your agenda, the official notice that was emailed to required agencies and posted on site and mailed to neighboring property owners within 120 meters of the subject lands on August the 13th, 2025. Ms. Gould-Brown, can you confirm that that has been done? Thank you. So we have a list of those that are going to be presenting, and we have received correspondence, Council, under items 8.1 on your agenda, as well as the supplementary ones that have been handed out to you by our clerk. At this time, I'm going to turn this portion of the meeting over to our facilitator, Mr. Brian Boyle. Mr. Boyle, thank you for coming today, and it's now yours.
Thanks, Mayor Gary, and it is my pleasure to be here with you tonight, gang, as a resident of Plympton-Wyoming for a little over 40 years. I do take an interest in what's happening in the community for sure. So tonight, I have created a little PowerPoint for the visual learners that will always be there. So if I say something, hopefully it will appear there, and you can read about it as the saying goes. So we have already had our welcome from Gary, and the purpose of tonight's meeting is twofold. The first is to provide an opportunity for 3 key stakeholder groups to share some details on the zoning bylaw amendment application in Wanstead area. So that will help inform all of us. And the second purpose is equally important, and that is to provide an opportunity for all the interested parties and individuals that are here in the room to hear those details on the zoning bylaw amendment application in Wanstead, as well as share their personal perspectives. And as you can imagine, there are a number of different perspectives in the room. So to set the stage a little bit, we do value everyone's opinion. And tonight is your opportunity to provide your valuable input. I make an effort to make best use of your valuable time. And my aim is to help you folks reach the desired purpose of the meeting, which you just saw on the last 2 slides. Now, in terms of guidelines, some experience that I've had is in previous experiences is that everyone has wisdom, and we need everyone's wisdom to achieve the best results. So that involves being active listeners. There will be many opportunities for many of you to speak tonight. So we really encourage, if you're not speaking, to actively listen to what the speaker is saying. And an equally important part is the concise responses. And in that regard, to help in this regard, we've invited an active community member sitting right here beside me, Jack Sterling, and Jack is going to act as our official timer. So we plan to build tonight's meeting on mutual respect, and I know we're all capable of that. And if we can actually respect each other's right to an opinion, even though we may never, ever agree with it, we will have achieved a certain amount of success. So I really encourage you to keep that in mind as varying perspectives are presented tonight. Now, we hope to utilize some self-recording tonight because there's lots of opinions in the room and only so much time. One of the ways that we do this is with those Post-its and markers on the table. And some of the reasons that we do that, it provides an opportunity for everyone's input. Instead of just listening to 1 or 2 or 3 people in a row, we can all get a chance to get something down that's important to us. Some participants actually prefer to write something down rather than stand up in front of a large group like we have tonight. Your exact point is noted. It won't be edited, providing it's not blasphemous or anything, and I don't expect that. And it will be clear and succinct. And I'm encouraging 5 to 7 words per point, so then you can get your point made. And the next thing is that many ideas can be presented simultaneously and priorities will emerge. And with the help of my spouse Janet and Aaron, we're going to get, and Diane, I believe, we're going to get all your points posted on that wall over there. So you will see that, yes, I said that. Now, tonight's program is basically a 5-step process that we're going to try and make best use of your time. It'll start off with presentations from 3 key stakeholders. And that includes county planners, the proponent, which is in this case is Cornerstone Group, and a Wanstead Citizens Group. So each of those will give 10 minutes to present their perspective, and I know all 3 have some audiovisual to help us through that. As soon as that's done, then we hope to get into some table discussions. And by that I mean, we will encourage you, and I'll tell you more detail there, encourage you to share your personal perspective at your table. The next step would be, once those are all, you've kind of got those fleshed out, someone at your table will then share them with the whole group. And at that point, they'll go on the wall. The 4th little section we've dedicated some time for is to give additional perspectives verbally. If you feel your point wasn't made yet, or wasn't fulsome enough, or was missed, or whatever, there'll be an opportunity to actually go to the mic there and make your point personally. And then the last part of this of the evening will be an opportunity for the decision makers, which happen to be lined up against that wall, your council and mayor, to ask any questions of clarification. So they may have heard something and wondered, to help in their decision, I'd like to ask a certain person a certain thing. So that's how we hope to flow through the evening, and again, make most productive use of your time. So we're going to swing right into the presentations, and they will be in this order. The County of Lambton Planning Department, and then the proponent, the Cornerstone Group, and Wanstead Citizens Group. And for Jack's purpose, there will be a strict time limit on each group presentation, and that will be 10 minutes. And with our official timer, Jack, here raising a visual warning, and Jack's going to show us in Canadian theory here, if you see a flag go up or the puck drop, you have 30 seconds left to wrap up your presentation. And then Jack, with his timer, he will actually remind you when your time is up with a gentle bell ringing, right, Jack? And it's sitting right there, and if you hear a bell, it's time to move to the next speaker. So with that said, we would first of all like to call on the representative from the planning department, and that's going to be Jordan. Can you, Jordan Folkens, can you come to the mic here and share your perspective for up to 10 minutes? Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Boyle, and good evening to everybody here today, members of the public and staff. My name is Jordan Folkens, and I'm a planning consultant for BM Ross and Associates by the County of Lambton to review this application and to provide a recommendation. If I could get the clicker, please.
Right here.
Thank you. So I'm here to provide a bit more of a background, high-level policy review of the application. So to start off, the subject lands are 5309 and 5310 Layton Street in the hamlet of Wanstead. You can see on the screen there's some drone images of what the property looks like. On the west side of Layton Street is 5309 Layton Street. It has an existing, what the applicant has called a grain storage building at the north side of the site, as well as an open gravel area. On the east side is 5310 Layton Street, which also includes a property that's along Co-op Street. And on there is an open storage area, again, a gravel area, and some smaller buildings. You can also see some pictures that were taken of the site. You can see the west site, the building is located on the north side, and on the east side, again, is the gravel area with coniferous trees along the north side. So looking at the surrounding area, the hamlet of Wanstead has a variety of zones. What's shown on the screen here is red. That's a rural commercial 3 zone. It also contains an agricultural 4, which is the orange or the brown, and the agricultural 1 is the agricultural area, which allows for agriculture and single detached dwellings. So what's been proposed here, this is the fourth submission of this application now. And you can see on the right side of the screen, what's proposed is a livestock trailer washing establishment building on the east side of Layton Street. So essentially what is proposed here is the trailers would be dropped off on the western property and they would be parked inside of a storage building on the south side of the site. From there, they'd be transferred to the east side of Layton Street, which would have the washing establishment. In that building would be 2 wash bays as well as 2 bays for future maintenance or of their fleet. Once it's clean, it would be transferred again to the west side of Layton Street into the existing building, which would be a dryer unit. After it is dry, it'd be transferred off-site to their client. So really what's here today, it was summarized, the zoning bylaw here is to allow for the uses to be on the property and to establish some exemptions for areas of the bylaw that the buildings would not comply with. So in this instance, 5309 is proposed to be an exception 3 to the rural commercial 3 zone. It would include reductions of front yard setback to 4 meters and an increase from lot coverage from 30 to 31%. And to also allow the use of the property for a dryer unit and a storage, as well as parking for the livestock trailer wash establishment on the east side of Layton Street. 5310 would again allow the use as a livestock trailer washing facility. Now, part of the property is already zoned rural commercial 3, which does permit a wide range of agricultural related uses. This would be expanded to the rest of the site. And a new R32 would be added to the bylaw or amended in the bylaw, which would include parking reduction, as well as a side yard setback reduction and separation from the driveway on the site to the intersection. Again, the summary of the zoning change is shown on the screen. I've included the permitted uses that are already on the property on the left column, and what's being proposed is on the right. So in the case of 5309, it's already in agriculture 4, which allows for agricultural single detached dwellings and other similar uses. What's being proposed is a livestock trailer storage building, as well as a drying unit and parking for the establishment itself. Now, on the east side, as I mentioned, part of the property is zone C3, which allows for a range of agriculture-related commercial uses. In that list are agricultural supply establishment, as well as abattoirs, stockyard, and agricultural implement sales establishment, which I believe also allows for the washing of vehicles. So with this application, we required a large number of studies and reports to be completed, and they're shown on the screen here. Most notably are the recent studies that were completed, the traffic impact memo that was provided with the application, as well as an odor assessment report. Now, the odor assessment report was peer reviewed by another company who did have some issues with the report. Those concerns or issues have been relayed to the applicant, and we are awaiting a response to that. Comments were also provided on the servicing report and the traffic impact memo. And again, we are waiting for official reply to those comments. So for some considerations, any zoning change needs to be consistent with the provincial planning statement, conform to the County of Lambton official plan, as well as the township official plan. I will do a fulsome review of those policies for the next meeting, but I'll go over the policies here tonight. So in terms of the PPS or provincial planning statement, development is directed to settlement areas. The hamlet of Wanstead is a settlement area. It also has some uses to deal with diversifying the economic base of these rural areas in the province and ensuring that there is land use compatibility. So that deals specifically in this case related to noise, odor, and so on. Now, when you look at the land use compatibility policies in the PPS, it does refer to major facilities, which is traditionally more of an industrial type of classification or major transportation route to a sensitive land use. In this case, we are dealing with a agricultural related commercial use, which we've noted there has been impacts, and that's why we required some of those studies. It also needs to conform with the policies of the County of Lambton official plan. The subject lands are designated as a secondary settlement area, which allows for minor infilling and rounding out of the area. Finally, the town of Plympton-Wyoming official plan, you'll see on this screen, it is designated as an on-service hamlet area and allows for uses that support agriculture as well as a limited number of commercial uses. Now, there are more specific policies in the town's official plan document that gets into exactly what should be permitted. It specifically states that a site plan agreement will be required. So a site plan would be more detailed engineer drawings, landscaping drawings, and information about the development that can be reviewed by staff. It also states that it should be limited access points and limited scale and generally reflect the rural character of the hamlet area. And shall also conform to urban design, amenity design, and land use compatibility policies that I referred to before. Sorry about that. For next steps, so we're here today to hear from the public. There was a public meeting scheduled last year. However, the application was deferred and we didn't get to hear presentations from members of the public. So that's really why we're here tonight, as Mr. Boyle stated. Again, state that no decision will be made today. This is a chance for us to listen to the residents, for council to get more information from the residents, and for us to come back with a future report to council that includes a recommendation. And council's options, I guess, in terms of approval, refusing, and deferral will be provided at that next meeting. But it is all for me today. Thank you very much for your time. And I don't think we're taking questions at this time, so.
Thanks, Jordan, for that very succinct and timely presentation. And we did not test the time limits, and we would now like to welcome our next speakers. And that is Jay McGuffin and Eric Steele from Monteith Brown. So Eric, you're kicking it off. Thanks.
So the clicker, Brian? Yes. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. First slide, please. The next slide, please. Oh, right. Sorry. Brief introduction. My name is Eric Steele. I'm an intermediate planner with Monteith Brown Planning Consultants. I'm also here joined tonight by Jay McGuffin from our office, as well as Sarah Pellett, who is an odor specialist with RWDI Engineering, who is responsible for preparing the odor assessment report, as well as Aaron Blatter, our consulting traffic engineer from RC Spencer and Associates. And we are here tonight representing our client, Cornerstone Group, represented by Pat Belanger. Cornerstone Group currently operates a mobile pressure washing business that caters to the farm community and has been operating for over 20 years and has identified a demand in the community for additional services for washing of livestock trailers. And so as part of that is the driver behind why he has brought this proposal forward. So trying to duplicate too much of Jordan's previous presentation, but sort of a quick overview. The subject lands consist of several properties located in the northeastern corner of the Wanstead settlement area, which contains an existing agricultural storage building as well as a vacant commercially zoned lot. The settlement area overall primarily is taken up by the existing Wanstead Cooperative Group, which operates a grain elevator operation, as well as several dwellings and agricultural lands surrounding the settlement area as well. So in terms of informing the design of this proposal, a number of technical studies have been prepared. This includes an odor assessment report prepared by RWDI Engineering, and this was prepared to evaluate any kind of potential impact from the trailer washing use related to odor and presented mitigation recommendations that will be implemented as part of the business design. Environmental compliance approval. This is obtained by the Ministry of Environment for the proposed water recycling system. This is a required process through the ministry, and there are various standards that need to be met in order for that approval to be obtained. Additionally, a preliminary servicing report has been prepared. This speaks to things like drainage, stormwater management, as well as servicing for the proposed employee use spaces on the property. And finally, a traffic impact study has also been prepared by R.C. Spencer and Associates that can conclude there'd be no negative impacts from traffic resulting from this proposed development and won't impact the function of Layton Street. Surprise overview. So this is the subject lands of two properties located on the east and west sides of Layton Street and Wanstead. So when trailers arrive on site, they'll come from the south along Layton Street and be immediately parked inside a trailer parking building. They'll be backed into bays where doors will be closed and air fans will provide ventilation within the building. These fans are equipped with charcoal filters, which are specifically designed to remove odors and mitigate impacts on neighboring properties. When a trailer is ready to be washed, it'll be brought across the street to 5310 Layton Street. It'll be backed into bays, and again, doors will be closed to seal off those bays. And all the washing takes place indoors. All of that wastewater is then directed into the ministry-approved water recycling system. It has the design capacity to recycle 21,850 liters per day. And that water is then recycled and continue to be used through the washing process for continuing on. When the washing process is completed, it is then brought back to 5309 Layton Street and parked into a drying unit bay, which completes the cleaning process and dries the unit. And when that's completed, it is then delivered to their client off-site. In terms of drainage, the proposed development would take into consideration that ensuring that there is no drain or surface water being directed onto adjacent properties. So the current parking areas would be used to catch any kind of stormwater and then divert it into municipal drains located along Layton Street. Additionally, the proposal includes a variety of landscaping, fencing, and berming provided along property boundaries to screen the use from adjacent properties and to help mitigate any kind of potential impact. So in terms of reviewing this proposal, there are several sort of policy objectives that we want to respond to. As Jordan previously noted, conforming with the planning policies both at the provincial and municipal level, promoting efficient use of land and resources, as well as proposing development that's compatible with adjacent land uses, and finally also supporting agricultural businesses within the community. And so provides again a brief overview of the policy framework. So the county official plan is a high-level document that provides broad land use planning direction for new development within a community. The subject lands are within a secondary settlement area, and the policy sort of objectives of this plan is to direct development into settlement areas like this. It permits a range of commercial uses, as well as permits development on lands with adequate servicing. Then there's sort of a next tier down is the Plympton-Wyoming official plan. And this document is more site-specific in terms of what the community specifically of Plympton-Wyoming is looking to achieve for long-term development goals. The property is designated as an unserviced hamlet area. This really is sort of catering to the agricultural community, permits a variety of agriculturally supportive businesses, a limited range of commercial uses, and then also permits residential dwellings. And again, objectives of permitting development on lands with adequate services, and again, encouraging things like buffering, screening to be implemented to mitigate any kind of potential negative impact from new development on the surrounding area. As Jordan has noted, there are multiple zones that apply to these properties. The lands located at 5310 Layton Street are currently zoned Rural Commercial 3, which permits a wide range of commercial uses, including abattoirs, bulk fuel depots, and stockyards, which also includes the keeping of livestock on the property for up to 7 days, as well as agricultural service establishments, which are defined as uses and businesses that specifically cater to the agricultural community. The property also has a portion zoned Rural Commercial 3 site-specific. This was a previous planning approval obtained to permit a warehouse use, and additionally also includes an agricultural A4 zoning. the property at 5309 Layton Street as currently zoned A4 as well. And this currently permits agricultural uses as well as dwellings and home occupation uses. So in terms of what this amendment proposes, or amendment to the zoning bylaw proposes to do for the property located at 5309 Layton Street, it would permit the trailer drawing unit that would be contained within the existing building, as well as permit a reduced front yard setback of 4 meters. So this is the setback between any building or structure and Layton Street. This would recognize the existing location of the current building property, as well as permit the trailer parking building in line with that building. Additionally, it also permit a maximum lot coverage of 31%, whereas the bylaw currently requires 30%, so it's a 1% increase from the bylaw's requirement. For 5310 Layton Street, again, there's multiple zones that apply to this property, and so this amendment would sort of unify that zoning under one site-specific C3-2 zone, which would permit the proposed use on the property. Additionally, it also permit a reduced interior yard setback of 9 meters, whereas the bylaw previously required 20 meters. That 20-meter setback was established under a previous rezoning for the aforementioned warehouse use. It is noted that the parent C3 zone, as of right, does permit a 9-meter setback to residential uses, and so our client is proposing to maintain that 9-meter setback. Additionally, there'd be mitigation measures including berm, 1-meter berm, noise fence, as well as landscaping that would be required to be provided as part of the site plan control applications. So that is the next step in this process. That would help mitigate any kind of impacts on adjacent properties. Additionally, the amendment would also include a site-specific provision for parking. The current zoning bylaw doesn't really recognize this use specifically and provide a standard set for what amount of parking should be provided. And so our client has proposed a specific parking amount that suits their needs to satisfy their development. And finally, it also permit a reduced setback from an intersection to an entrance of 6.8 meters, whereas the bylaw requires 9 meters. And the purpose of that is to recognize the existing location of an existing entrance, and noting that the intersection of Co-op Street and Layton Street currently only has one dwelling located on the property, and that there's minimal traffic in the area. So there was no sort of concern that this would result in any kind of negative impact on traffic movement throughout Wanstead. And so I know there are a few objections raised for the process. I see I have a few moments left. Simply conclude by saying, in our position, we believe that the proposal is consistent with PPS requirements, is conformed to the county and local official plans, and does meet the intent of the general zoning bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And we would now like to have our third presentation from key stakeholders. And this one will be from Jessica Jessme, who is speaking on behalf of Wanstead Citizens Group. Jess?
Thank you. Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Jessica Jessam. Obviously, from the presentation, you see that we are here to oppose a bylaw amendment surrounding a closed-loop livestock wash facility in Wanstead. It's related to zoning and environmental issues at neighboring properties. Why this matters to us residents. Although described as a closed loop, these systems are not risk-free. In addition to potential groundwater contamination and threats to private well water supply, the proposed project will increase noise levels and heavy truck traffic, degrade streets, and erode the rural character of Wanstead. And I want to emphasize, Wanstead is a hamlet. Under Ontario's provincial policy statement, hamlets must be protected from this kind of industrial encroachment. The provincial policy framework clearly states Section 1151 requires planning authorities to protect rural hamlets when considering new development. The PPS directs us to maintain the agricultural and community identity of hamlets, not introduce industrial scale facilities that can compromise them. A livestock wash is not compatible with Wanstead's identity or its sustainability as a safe and rural community. Beyond the policy, law sets out strict technical requirements. Under MECP guidelines D55, any development impacting wells must include baseline water testing, drawdowns, contaminant modeling, and monitoring wells. None of that has been made public. And under MPC 300, noise assessments are mandatory for industrial facilities near homes. Again, no study has been made public. Residents cannot properly consider the proposed amendment and related facility, and council cannot make an informed decision without this information. This is my backyard. Closed loop systems have failed before in Minnesota, Alberta, Ontario, and Nebraska. These facilities cause nitrate contaminations, E. coli outbreaks, and chemical infiltration of wells. The lesson is simple. Closed loop does not mean zero risk. And when failures occur, it's the residents who suffer, not the developer. So what's the deficiencies in this proposal here? There's no groundwater or septic study, no hydrogeological studies, no traffic management plan. Plan is different than a memo. No chemical handling or residuals plan, no stormwater or spill prevention plan, no independent audits other than the second one that was done by the planning consultants for the odor, no financial insurances. Who's going to cover the cost of a cleanup if we can't have our potable well water driven from our wells? And technically, there was really no public consultation in the first place. Without these safeguards, the risk falls squarely on us residents. Council should not consider this amendment until conditions are met. Full hydrogeological and noise studies, traffic and operations plan, certified zero discharge systems, independent audits, and the financial assurances for the cleanup. And most importantly, make them public with a 30-day review period. This is the only way this process can be considered accountable or fair. For more than 2 years, properties at 53-9, 53-10 Layden, and 5507 have been operating outside zoning and permit. This is a clear pattern of misrepresentation, bylaw, non-enforcement, and potential environmental harm documented through town and county correspondence, evidence, and site changes. I'm going to briefly outline the sites involved. At 5309 Layden Street, the permit was originally issued for a strawberry storage facility. Today, it's a multi-B commercial facility. It was built partially with agro-stability and agro-recovery funds, raising misuse concerns. No final inspection was ever done, only an occupancy inspection. And on April 9th, this year, an illegal septic system was removed without containment. A cease and desist was issued in late 2024, but activity continues. And grading changes to this site have caused flooding and groundwater saturation on neighboring properties. Next, 5310 operates jointly with 5309. Drainage alterations have redirected water towards neighboring properties, negatively affecting property use and enjoyment by those neighbors. To top it off, there's no historical bylaw amendments supporting the zoning for 5310. The town's records dating back from 1977 do not have a bylaw supporting that zoning. Maps do not override bylaws. And without historical amendments, these operations have no proper base in bylaw. At 5507 Co-op Street, in 2018, the rezoning was approved with a clear condition of no outside storage. Despite this, outside storage is happening now. In 2018, some councillor remarks suggested temporary vehicles might be permitted, but that was never formally adopted into that bylaw. This is a direct breach of that zoning agreement, and it contributes to industrial encroachment on hamlet lands. I'm going to show you some maps next with the Sisson Parker, the Lonson, Peacock drains in the area. The blue drain line that you see there feeds right in ultimately to Bear Creek. We are brownstone clay where we are located in Wanstead. It is very poor drainage. In the event of a catastrophe, where's the contamination gonna go? The OMA FRA tile drainage network is dense, increasing both flooding and contamination risks. Lagoon or closed loop failures could easily infiltrate the water table and affect private wells because residents here rely entirely on private water sources. Placing the C3 zoning next to hamlet residential and agricultural designations is simply incompatible. There are multiple legislation breaches as well. The Planning Act requires conformity to the official plan. The PPS requires protection of hazard lands and compatible land uses. The Ontario Building Code, septic and well setbacks have been ignored. The Environmental Protection Act prohibits discharge that causes diverse effects, and the Drainage Act requires an engineer's report before altering drains. These requirements have not been respected. In the Black Creek Engineering Report 4.1, the existing drainage, they noted that the west side of the property at 5309 slopes towards the west where surface water runs off into the open field. In reality, it has flooded our backyard for 2 years. 5309 towering over our residential home. A wellhead of a neighbor covered up by a fence line. This is less than 55 inches from the fence line. There's CO2, hazardous chemicals across the way, as well as a bulk fuel station. Property values could be dropping. Residents are for sure losing the enjoyment of their home. Intimidations and threats have been reported after violations were raised. That is a CO2 canister, if everybody's wondering there. And that was used in part by the federal funding received under the ASF swine flu prevention. And ultimately, most seriously, there is potential contamination of potable wells from septic failure, chemical use, or lagoon overflow. That's unacceptable. So what are we requesting? What are we asking our council to do? We are asking you to enforce the existing cease and desist orders at 5309 Layden Street. Issue stop use and stop work orders at all 3 sites. Commission hydrogeological and drainage studies. Start a municipal well monitoring program. Enforce zoning at 5507 Co-op. Revert zoning at 5309 and 5310 due to the misrepresentation. And finally, at that meeting on the 29th, allow us to resubmit submissions after tonight's event. Our exhibits are not just backed by me talking here and saying something. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jessica, and to all the speakers, and thanks to you folks too for the respect you paid to those speakers and allowed them to share their thoughts. And so there was lots of active listening going on, and that's what we were really hoping to see. So for the next little period, maybe we'll see how it rolls, but up to maybe 20 minutes, we would like to give you a chance to share your personal perspectives. And like I mentioned before, the way we would hope to do that, the approach, I've got it here for the visual learners. And, oop. So basically all the participants at each table are encouraged to share their personal perspective at the table on the rezoning application. Some of the things you've heard here or others that you came to the event with. So please designate one or two people at your table to serve as a scribe. And I'd like you to write down what's being said, 1 point per Post-its, and we've got lots of Post-its if you need more, but make them clear so they will stand out on the wall. And because the next thing is, as I said, the next part, one of you is going to share your points from the table, from that mic back there to the whole group. So that's what your task is. Again, try and keep it succinct, 5 to 7 words, just what's the key point that you're trying to make. And also, as I said, if there are divergent views at your table, you don't have to sort out at the table how it's resolved. Just put them all out there and we'll get them shared on the wall. So everybody know what we're doing? You're working as a group. 1 or 2 of you is acting as a scribe, writing boldly, single point on each of the pages. And we'll give you a good chance of time, probably 20 minutes even. Okay, we'll see how it's rolling. Go for it. Yep. Multiple points? Yeah, many points. The more that you wish to put down, the better. Okay, folks, we're getting maybe not full time, but I see a lot of good points have been made. Is there any groups that would really like to have a little more time yet, or would we like to hear some of these points? Okay, seeing no divergence, we'll maybe, for the sake of efficiency, get rolling on hearing those comments. And you remember, this was your chance to share your personal perspective with the folks at your table. So here's how we would plan to share your perspectives, and it would go something like this. One representative from each table, potentially the scribe or someone else, if you wish, will verbally present the highlights of the perspectives expressed at each table to the entire meeting. And we'll do it from that mic back there. And there's a podium, as you can see, so you can set your notes right there. Please go to the mic, introduce yourself, and I'll acknowledge that you're there, and then you present your points. And then immediately after your presentation, Janet or Diana will collect those from you, and we'll start creating, we'll fill that wall with all your good ideas. And there will be a trend, things of similar themes will appear in similar columns, okay? And that's just for, that'll all be duly recorded and presented to council as well, of course. But tonight, you may want to look at what all was said and written on the wall. To make it flow, we will hear randomly from tables. And so I will give the next table that we'd like to hear from. And to keep it flowing, for those of you who've played ball, and Wyoming's a ball town, you all know what on deck means. And that means I will give the next one that would be standing right behind, ready to go. Okay? And then we'll keep it flowing through because there's lots of good ideas. Again, Timer Jack is going to allow 2 minutes for you to share your points, and they won't be lost. They will go on the wall. So make those, every one of those points, make them clearly, and you can get a lot done in 2 minutes. Again, the flag will go up in 1.5 minutes, and you know whether you have to speed up or slow down or whatever. Okay, does everybody understand what's happening? Okay, and the same concept of being active listeners, listening to what folks are saying and hear the perspectives in the room. And again, being concise in your presentation when you happen to be up there. So we would like to start, I'm just randomizer here. Let's start with table 14 and table 3, you're on deck. Okay, whoever's table 14, please go and spend up to 2 minutes at the mic sharing what came from your table.
Thanks, Brian. I just have a couple of quick ones. I would like to, how many counselors have personally visited the site in question? I think it's important that council always do this, not the presentation that we see where we only see an isolated part. We don't see the community. And so I'm hoping that every council person over there can answer that question honestly and say they've walked around and visited. My other kind of comment or question is, out at Reese's Corners, the town already owns a huge, commercial, industrial piece of property. That's where, this type of development should be put. Anyways, that's just the 2 comments I have off our table. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. And that just raises a point. One of the things from your table, we would like to have your perspective and your points. And the format is not designed for a back and forth with the consultants or the counselors, whatever, but a sharing of your opinion. So the rhetorical question that Mike asked was fine, but we wouldn't expect responses from everybody on every point that you would like. So thanks for kicking that off for us, Mike. Table 2, could you please proceed? And table 16, you're on deck. Okay, table 3, you're on deck. You're in second place. That's my number here. I'm getting. Okay, table 3. No, table 3 is first. Table 3 is first. And table 16, you be ready on deck. A seamless transition, just like the Blue Jays.
Hello, my name's Sam Kay. I live directly south of all this. And what we're worried about devaluation of our property, for one thing, and contaminating our wells from any seepage, safety issues, worried about standards and all these ignoring legal requests. Anything we try and do seems not to go any further. Idling vehicles and future road noise. And we have experienced excess ponding and flooding in the neighborhood. And there's going to be a CO2 silage filled with CO2 gas, less than 50 feet from a residence with a basement, which that immediately goes to the lowest point and takes the oxygen out of the air. The evaluation, and we had no issues before all these permits were issued. So that is our concerns.
Okay, thanks for those, Sam. And we'll now hear from table 16 with table 12 on deck.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Marchand. I live right here in Wyoming. Just a few thoughts, more than anything, was considering that, you know, will there be restrictions on transports coming in and out of all hours? What about the noise and light pollution it's going to cause to the families in the community, as well? Additionally, just unsafe traffic that people aren't used to with young families in the country. I mean, I get it. Even in Wyoming, we're dealing with traffic on Broadway, and we are installing lights here, and we have transports going all, just say, really fast down Broadway, and it's 40 kilometers an hour. Who's going to police that out in that community as well? How were they able to get as far as they have with this current process? You know, how were they able to get the permits, et cetera, to this point? And I think that's probably something that just needs to be looked at and considered as well. And then additionally, as much as there are charcoal filters being installed, that's still not going to change the smell of things, the vehicles coming in and things being released prior to or opening up. So the smell is going to be there, and it's going to get saturated and permeate outside of the buildings before it even gets to that point. A lot of just information to think about.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. And we'll now hear from table 12 with table 1 on deck. Table 12, can you, no comments? Okay, table 1, then you are up, and on deck would be table 7.
I'm shorter, sorry.
ASF funding equals biosecurity. This was avoided in the planner's presentation in just under $900,000. Biosecurity facilities will operate under emergency conditions when there are outbreaks. C3 zoning in 2018 was rezoned for personal use only and no outside storage. The Brookston Clay Loom Bear Creek SCRCA does not regulate well water. Why do the planner's pictures avoid showing several houses? You're missing some. Those are very important. Reduction of property value indicates uncompatibility. SCRCA, no jurisdiction didn't mean no impact. Private potable well water. We have a petition against this rezoning at table 1. Please sign before you leave tonight.
Okay, and your name?
Jennifer Bailey.
Jennifer? Thank you, Jennifer. Next would be table 7, and on deck would be table 18.
Big difference. Hi, from table 7, I'm Ryan Prosper. Some points we've made are the land is already zoned for agriculture, so washing livestock trailers shouldn't be an issue, and it's already an agricultural community, so adding more agricultural jobs are beneficial. There are already transport trucks moving through Wanstead and or around it, and so this should not be a new issue, as well as with the co-op. Noise issues have been studied, and solutions have already been given. Lots of other land available for industrial trailer cleaning facility. The drain water issue already was resolved, and it was actually the residents' own septic issues. This is not an industrial project. This is a commercial project with commercial bylaws. So the idea that industrial issues should not be an issue or a concern. Let's make this a win-win. Let's find decisions and find solutions. People are concerned about noise, yet a train and grain elevator are right off of the co-op street already and have been for decades. Entrepreneurs should be encouraged with job creation, things like that. And why let these jobs go over the border or to another different township? Could always be an option, right? So we don't want to lose jobs in Wyoming when there's other townships that could take advantage of these situations. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. And next we would go to table 18, and on deck is table 5. 18. Okay, no comment. And table 5, and on deck would be table 2. Table 5, any comments? Okay. Table 2, could you please go, and I'll give you a non-deck 2 random. Table 19. Table 19, you're on deck.
My name is Melody.
Melody?
First question, who is responsible? Who pays when the inevitable happens? People get sick, we can't drink our own water, the ground is contaminated. How is an 8-foot fence to visually hide a 30-foot tall building? A track record of non-compliance. The current building is not being used for its designated purpose. Can it be removed? Bylaws have not been followed or enforced. When will anything change?
Okay. Thank you, Melody. And we now go to table 19, And on deck is table 6. 19, are you deferring? Okay. Table 6, then, and we would hear from table 11 after that. Table 6.
Good evening. My name is John Calling. I live in the village of Wyoming. So you might wonder why somebody in Wyoming really cares. And I've heard this from some of my neighbors. I've heard this from people in the town. Well, it's not in my neighborhood. Folks, we're all neighbors. It is in our neighborhood and we should care. So let's talk about a few things. Disease. We saw today that you're going to recycle the water. What about avian flu? How are you going to recycle that if a trailer has avian flu? How are you going to recycle water that has cow disease? You just can't recycle that type of water. How about animal soil from the trailers? How are you going to recycle that water? There's grain on this site. What if there's cross-contamination of that grain? Realize that water is a valuable resource. We don't have all the water in the world. We should treat it as a valuable resource. So where will the water come from? Will there be any water left in our wells? We hear that up to 22,000 liters of water are going to be taken out of the ground in order for this site to function. But remember, we're just going to keep recycling the water, so that's kind of all that we're ever going to take. For council, you know what? We heard the mayor tonight say that the Indigenous statement that we all hear at every meeting. Council, have you invited any Indigenous community to your meeting? Ontario says that if you are building near a river or a lake, you need to consult them. Have you? We haven't heard here that you've consulted any of our Indigenous population. For starters, it was an interesting, we heard about strawberries. Was there ever even one strawberry stored in that facility? Yet that's why the facility got their approval to store strawberries. So I'll just close with, council, don't reward bad behavior. Make all reports public, do your job, and enforce the current bylaws. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from table 11, followed up by table 4. Table 11 and then table 4.
My name is Ed Smith. I live half a mile away from Wanstead. Some of the people from Wanstead might actually recognize me. I occasionally walk through your hamlet on my Sunday walk. I often have to avoid cars and trucks on that walk, and an increased traffic will just make that more dangerous for me. We have the concern, the fans have charcoal filters, but do they have noise filters? Those things don't run quiet. The trucks themselves, I've been informed by one of the members of Wanstead that they're the large trucks, not farm trucks, and we have to consider the noise from the engine brakes. There should be a bylaw for that. We've seen signs on the road, no engine brakes in town. I'd like to see that for is there going to be light towers on this thing illuminating the lot? Because that's going to bring in some light pollution. And of course, as everyone else has said, well contamination.
Okay, thank you, Ed. And we would now like to hear from table 4 with table 17 on deck.
Hi, my name's Carrie Lupton, and I currently live on Wanstead Side Road. My grandparents lived in Wanstead all their lives, and so I feel like Wanstead's home to me. My big concern with this is definitely the water table. I hope counselors, if you haven't been out there, please go out there. There are 9 households that rely on the water out there. That's all we have. We don't have town water, we don't have water line. And unless you guys are going to do a study and figure out what that costs and back us up if something happens, I don't want that. Like, that's 9 families, 9 houses that could be unsellable if something happens to our water. Like, what are we going to do then? And who's going to back us up and who's going to be there to help us? Like, that's our biggest concern for sure. You know, the zoning, when was it changed to C3? That was brought up in the presentation. That's definitely something that should be looked at. I know that area. I have old maps from that area, and a lot of what is there currently was originally houses, churches, things of that nature. So I think, there's some historic research maybe that needs to be done on your part. The proposals here don't specify the hours of operation or the expected amount of traffic. So that's a concern. As residents, we don't know, is this going to be running 24/7? Like, when's it going to be running? How much is this going to affect the people? I live on the side road. The people right in downtown hamlet of Wanstead, this will ruin their lives. This will ruin their properties and their lives and their quality of life living there. There are way better places in Plympton-Wyoming to put a facility like this. It was mentioned 21,000 liters of water a day was going to be recycled, but eventually there is wastewater from that. And where's that going to go, and how is that going to be dealt with? Like, I have heard it's going to be spread on some land behind the co-op. So, there's a lot of things that we have concerns about. So
Thank you,
I
Carrie.
take it seriously.
Thank you. We'd now like to hear from table 17, and on deck would be table 15. Oh, no comment from 17. Table 15. Any comments? Okay, table 8. Can you share some points? And table 9 would be on deck.
Stephen McLean. So we heard about the number of trucks proposed for the present, but one of the concerns is what's the proposal in the future? Like, this business will probably grow, and how will this be monitored? Question, this has been brought up before. How did this go from a property from a strawberry storage facility to what it is proposed to now? Road integrity of Layton Street, at risk of damage determination with excess transport traffic. Is the municipality looking at that? Will that be paved? The infrastructure that goes along with this? Well waters come up. And a good point to this, well water and the impact on that for basically Wanstead. To be added the water infrastructure to become part of the town water system, if this type of facility is going in. And then we've seen a lot of these stores, the 100-year storm myth and everything else, and the amount of rain we've got. There's always that overflow problem or leakage, and that was kind of a concern. So.
Okay, thank you. Table 9, anything to add, guys? Okay, deferred there. Table 20.
Hi, I'm Sarah Packett, and just a couple questions that we had. The air quality control, or who is enforcing that, especially with the CO2? And again, the water, well water, drinking water contamination possibility. Also, I've worked at one of these places before, and I wondered, I hadn't heard anything about the solid waste disposal. Where is that going to be stored, and then where's it going to go after that? Even if they're already somewhat cleaned out before they show up, you still have to scrape them. So just wondered about that.
Okay. Were there any tables that I missed that would like to share their perspective? I think I've got them all by my little list. Okay, if not, we'd like to swing into the next, and thanks folks for being so concise. Jack hardly had to ring his bell here, and we got lots of points made, as you can see, that are on the wall. So the next session that I mentioned to you is for additional perspectives. And this is the approach that we plan on this one. It is, if your personal perspective has not been previously expressed by the table presenters, This portion of the meeting is allocated to hearing up to 2-minute presentations by individuals. And prior to this meeting, some folks actually requested a possibility to speak, and they weren't necessarily aware of the format. So if you were in that category and would still like to add information, this would be the time. Again, the mic is there, and the same process we've just been using. If you could go identify yourself by name, and the 2 minutes will be allowed, and Jack will dutifully time anyone that wishes to speak. So if there's, yeah. Who promised that? Okay, well, the format of the meeting, based on the time, we're looking at 2 minutes now. So you can, anyone who, can you share that with anybody else? Can you share that with a friend or colleague? Okay, you go up with her. Okay? Right? This is your time. Yes. Okay. You're speaking on behalf of more than one. We'd allow that. But I am suggesting 4 minutes now instead of 2.
My name is Jennifer Bailey. We own 13 acres within Wanstead. Over the course of 18 months, ample evidence has been submitted by me and other residents, which signifies that a biosecurity wash bay facility does not fit the public policy statement that are aimed to protect hamlets such as Wanstead. The answer is simple. A biosecurity facility, including a large wash bay and attracting significant truck traffic, does not belong amongst homes in a hamlet. Just because the property owner jumped the gun and built a very expensive drying bay under the guise of a strawberry packing facility does not mean the council should allow backdoor zoning here today. One of the major concerns raised in 2024 was the issue of odors emanating from contaminating agriculture trucks, particularly given the close proximity of neighboring homes. In response, the property owner commissioned RWDI to conduct an independent odor assessment in 2024. In response, RWDI recommended that an agriculture truck be parked in an enclosed garage prior to washing to minimize odor impacts on nearby residents. This recommendation introduces a critical problem. An additional structure only raises further compatibility issues with the site. The proposed wash bay facility is expected to utilize a closed-loop system, which in theory minimizes environmental risk to surrounding properties. It's important to note, however, that the area currently faces no such risks. While closed-loop systems are designed to contain and recycle wastewater, no system is entirely fail-proof. Equipment can and does fail. Machinery breaks, valves seize, and human error is an unavoidable factor in any operation. One must consider the real-world implications of such a failure in this context. What would the headlines read in that event? Wanstead water contaminated, wells run dry in Wanstead, water crisis hits rural community. Residents say, "We told you so." The question we pose to decision makers today is this: who is prepared to be associated with the consequences of such preventable risks? Additionally, the proposed references, neighboring properties to the northeast, south, and northeast are consisting of farm dwellings, drive sheds, livestock facilities. I would like to clarify that these properties are primarily low-scale hobby farms with drive sheds used for personal purposes rather than commercial agriculture operations. Additionally, the referenced livestock facility is located 2 kilometers away. I'd like to address the numerous letters of support the property owner has received, none of whom reside in Wanstead. The hamlet of Wanstead none of whom will endure the negative health, financial, or mental well-being impacts that we are set to see. Our objection is not against Mr. Belanger or as an employer or against the need for a wash bay facility. Simply, we are against the proposed location beside our homes. Lastly, the decision on this rezoning request will set a precedence that says it doesn't matter what the zoning is, it doesn't matter what you put on a building permit, it doesn't matter what the intended use of your building is. And also bylaws don't matter and they are not enforced. As elected officials, you have a duty to uphold the rights of your constituents and to protect them from injustices exactly like this. I implore you, vote no to this rezoning request.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Are there others who would like to speak in this portion of the program to add your additional perspective if it wasn't represented, or you want to clarify? If you wish to speak, you're welcome. Yeah, yes. Okay, that's what I'm offering you. Yeah, you're welcome to speak.
My name's David Reyes. I work for Cornerstone. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members, and everyone here tonight. When I first started working at Cornerstone, Wanstead, it looked very different than it does today. On the west side of Layton Street was the old Annette House, abandoned, falling apart, and frankly dangerous. Across the street stood a collapsed storage building, and behind that was a muddy parking lot that looked like a junkyard. These weren't just eyesores, they were hazards, and they gave a bad impression of Wanstead. But over the past 2 years, Pat stepped up and made a real difference. He cleaned it all up. On the west side of Layton Street, the abandoned house is gone, and there's now a good-looking, well-maintained shop. Across the street, where the shed used to be, there's now grass and trees and a nicely landscaped green space. And behind that is the proposed site for the new shop, which is already surrounded by privacy trees, a berm, and the wooden fence. I think anyone who's seen Wanstead before and after would agree it looks 1,000 times better today. That didn't happen by accident. It took vision, hard work, real investment, all the while providing jobs. And that's what I want to talk about next. The job market isn't what it used to be. We've already lost huge parts of our job market, such as manufacturing and many office jobs to offshoring. And now even jobs that were once considered safe are being threatened by automation and AI. On top of that, Ontario is losing thousands of young families to places like Alberta because they're going where the work is. They're looking for opportunity. Plympton-Wyoming has a chance to be part of the solution. The proposed site would create real jobs, local jobs that can't be shipped overseas and that won't be replaced by AI. It'll keep young families here to raise their kids in the community. It's not just good for workers, it's good for the whole community. And one last thing about the odor, the property is already zoned to allow cattle, so that would be way more odorous than
Hey, David,
interior
thank you.
wash bay. Thank you.
You exceeded the time. Thank you. I'm just going to, just for information of everybody, these are the names that I was given or registered, so I'm just going to list them off to be sure. And this doesn't mean that only exclusively these folks can speak, but I do want to remind as you who I've been given. And to make it flow, if, again, using the on deck thing, and when someone's speaking, if you would like to speak and can go and stand just behind them, then we can just keep them rolling. Sam and Jacqueline Kay, David and Cynthia King, Cindy Gambacourt, Melody Holiday, Dan and Carla Moffat, Ron Reyes, Wade Belanger, and Ryan Prosper. So if any of you wish to speak, which I know there are some, please go. And then if you would like to speak next, just stand behind Sam or whoever you're standing behind.
Yeah, I'm Sam Cave. lives
Thanks.
To the south of that. And most of our issues have already been posted. But like we have bought real estate and lived there for 45 years. Now it's time to retire. And now they're gonna put a plant right beside you in your backyard. I would still like to be able to barbecue in my backyard, enjoy my property, not have it lowballed and worth nothing. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thanks, Sam, for that brief comment.
Okay, I think everybody around here knows me.
Except me. Who's the name?
Well, I haven't, give me a second.
Yeah.
And anyway, I said, hello, I'm Dave King. My wife Cindy and I own property east of 5507 Co-op Street. So we share the fence with Pat. It's proposing to build a livestock washing facility. Pat has raised his property up approximately 2 feet higher than any other properties. Therefore, all the surface water drains down through. It's all lifted up with gravel. So it drains all down through, gets to the bottom, runs sideways, runs all in there and there. So when all this here washing and everything comes in, all these dirty trucks and everything, all the manure and all the bird flu and swine flu and everything stuff's going to get on that gravel. The rain's going to wash it down. It's going to wash it all into our backyards. The proposed amendment would allow in a manure pit or pond in the middle of the residential family homes. Any farmer putting in a pit or pond have to be 1,000 feet from any building. Why is this not being used to meet the same standards here? We're concerned about airborne contamination as well. This proposed building to have large fans blowing exhaust, stench, and contamination across our property toward our house and our hayfield, which we feed our horses. I hope you're aware that bird flu can infect humans. And if you're contaminated with bird flu, the standards read that 50% of the people that get bird flu die. In the town, well, is the town willing to risk another Walkerton contamination? I have been driving truck for over 50 years. Most trucks go early to get to where they're going, frequently arriving at businesses. Am I done?
That's your time, Dave.
Okay.
Thank you for respecting that. Next speaker.
I am Cynthia King, or Cindy as I'm better known by. My husband Dave and I live at 5308 Woodford Street, Wanstead. We have lived here for just over 37 years. We raised our children here and now get to enjoy our grandchildren, hopefully. Pat Belanger and the Cornerstone Group's proposed livestock washing facility at 5507 Co-op Street, if allowed, will be just over our west fence, literally. And since
Cynthia,
5 to 3,
Cynthia, try to be respectful and give your points.
I am being respectful. Since when did 5310 Layton Street and 5507 Co-op Street become one? I am opposed to the proposed rezoning and the proposed project and all requested minor variances. My property already gets runoff into our property because Pat Belanger has raised his property higher than all the neighbors. And I do not want possible water contamination coming from the project onto my property. I do not want the stench and possible air contamination coming from the proposed large fans that will be aimed at my property right towards the front of my house. I assume you all are aware of the stench that comes off of something that hauls livestock or garbage, and adding water to said stench only makes it worse. Putting downspouts on these large fans will not stop the raunchy airflow nor the noise pollution from these large fans coming towards the front of my home or blowing across the hay we feed our horses. We have heard the exhaust fan running on Pat's existing building located on Layton Street. What are these large fans going to sound like aimed at the front of our home? In a conversation with Pat a year or so ago, I said he would need to put up a solid fence so he wasn't contaminating or blowing down our hay. Pat just laughed and said that will never happen. I have trees planted there and that is good enough. Again, I do not want the groundwater or the air pollution infecting my family, our animals, or our hay fields. I am on the list to speak, so we are already subject to the daily noise from Pat's triaxle dump trucks, payloader, telehandler, skid steer, and excavator, starting as early as 5:30, 6 a.m. Air brakes, backup beepers, rattling of equipment buckets, the banging of dump trucks, tailgates.
Cynthia, could you wrap up, please?
I have lived in Plympton, Wyoming for 56 years, and I always understood that there was to be no noise in residential or near residential until after 7 and 9 on weekends. The daily noise will be substantially more with this proposed business.
Cynthia,
Claims we have
respect of
trees
other speakers. Could you please go
the
back to your
south of
table?
Wanstead and the Farmers Co-op on the corner of Wanstead and Elevator. His proposal shouldn't make a difference. One big difference is his proposed project will be right in the middle of 6 residential homes. Another risk is contamination and serious illness to the families in 6 homes as well as possible homes in the area. We do not want the character and livability of our much-loved hamlet destroyed by the proposed commercial endeavor put forward by Pat Belanger and his Cornerstone Group. Our families matter too.
Thank you, Cynthia.
I
Could you
always
please go back to your
understood that the
table?
towns and townships were by law supposed to protect their rural integrity.
David, could you encourage your spouse to come back to the table, please?
Just to be clear, this has nothing to do with Pat as a boss or a family man. We are not saying there is no need for the proposed commercial business. We are saying not in the middle of 6 residential homes in the hamlet of Wanstead. The hamlet of Wanstead is not the appropriate location for this commercial business.
Just a gentle reminder, gang, the respect that we show is for other speakers. And that's why I'm encouraging us to stay to the time because the night is wearing on. And there's many people that may want to have their opinion expressed. So I would encourage you to do that. Next speaker.
Just like that last
Next speaker.
comment retracted, please.
What?
That was totally inappropriate to expect a husband to be responsible for a wife. I take offense.
Okay, okay. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
I'm going to use my time and my family members' time.
Okay, a name, please.
Melody Halliday. June 16th, 1984, my family and I moved to Wanstead. Parents chose this as a safe, quiet, peaceful location to raise 4 young children. A neighborhood where kids could play outside, ride their bikes, and drink from the garden hose without fearing anything. For 41 years, I have loved this home. 41 years of living peacefully, being friends with the neighbors, and helping each other when needed. That quiet, peaceful, safe home is now threatened. This proposed washing facility is to be located directly behind my house. Looking out my kitchen window, I will no longer see the sky, but a large commercial building. At night, the stars won't be visible, just a yard full of floodlights. Facility like this brings many, many concerns for everyone surrounding it. My water well is mere feet, 52 inches to be specific, off of my north property line. Water runoff from this facility directly impacts my property as the existing gravel lot is built up to a higher elevation than my property. Every time it rains, water runs off of this lot and into my backyard, flooding it. Nothing is stopping contaminants from washing into my yard right where my water well is located. Even closed loop systems designed with the best of intentions have potential to fail. Can you imagine not knowing if your water has been contaminated by runoff from animal waste, a leak in the system, a spill from fuel tanks, or any of the other various equipment sitting around? Can you imagine the health implications from drinking, cooking with, and bathing in contaminated water? Well water testing is only going to show the results after the groundwater system has been contaminated, leaving residents with an unsafe water source. Who is going to take on the responsibility of providing safe water and cleaning up the contamination? Who is going to take responsibility when people get sick? For the last several years, with this gravel lot draining into my yard, I've had standing water that takes days to drain away. The standing water is a breeding ground for mosquitoes. The mosquito population has become so severe at times that just stepping outside means you are swarmed. A person cannot mow the lawn, tend gardens, hang laundry, or barbecue without being drenched in bug spray. Dirty livestock trailers sitting around baking in the summer heat will smell horrendous. Fences will not stop the smell or the flies from invading everyone's yards and homes. We want to be able to sit on our decks, cook dinner on the barbecue, have a campfire, and enjoy swimming in the pool without the nauseating smell of feces forcing us back inside with the windows closed. I want to hang laundry out to dry and have it smell fresh and clean. This neighborhood was not designed for the type of heavy traffic this facility will bring. Transport trucks coming and going all hours of the day will bring noise, stir up dust from the gravel, and be a nuisance to commuters. Can you imagine being woken up absurdly early in the morning by trucks coming in, backup alarms sounding, trailers being shuffled, and trucks idling? Backup alarms produce noise in the range of 97 to 112 decibels. They are designed to be annoying. Under the provincial noise guidelines, any noise 90 decibels and up is considered a very loud sound. We don't even know how loud these exhaust fans are going to be, and they are located well above any sound barrier. Sleeping with the windows open will be a thing of the past. Having a facility like this located right in the middle of residential properties will significantly diminish the value of all our homes. Losing 50% of real estate value directly affects our financial futures. If any one of us were to consider selling, even at a great loss, who would want to buy our property? Would you want to buy a house next door to this facility? Think of your own homes, your families. Think of your health and well-being. Think of your financial futures. Now imagine someone tells you that they're going to build this livestock trailer washing facility directly outside your back door. Imagine the rank smell of manure slapping you in the face every time you step outside. Is that the kind of neighborhood you want to live in? Wanstead has always been a safe place to raise a family. Allowing a facility like this will destroy our safe community. Communities need to be protected, not trampled on. The proposal is absurd. Every single person, every single day will be dramatically affected by this. This has the potential to bring life-threatening consequences. I absolutely oppose the proposed zoning bylaw amendments. I oppose every aspect of this proposal. A facility like this does not belong in a residential neighborhood.
Good. Thank you, Melanie. Speaking on behalf of your family, and next speaker.
Hi, my name is Ryan Prosper. I'm a resident of Lambton County in Petrolia. I am a past resident of Plympton-Wyoming for 13 years. I've worked for Cornerstone for 7 years. When I first started working at Cornerstone, I had never driven a truck, pulling a trailer before, let alone back one up. I didn't even know how to use a ratchet strap or even wrap up a hose. 7 years later, I've not only learned to use all those things, I've also been trained to drive loaders, tractors, forklifts, and other equipment. When I started working with Pat, I didn't know what biosecurity even was. Now I've been trained in biosecurity policies and procedures according to provincial regulations. I've been trained by Pat to run various jobs and to teach others how to develop those jobs as well. I've taken this experience to go on and get my DZ, drive snowplows, dump trucks, run other equipment due to my training with Cornerstone. With all these skills I've learned at Cornerstone, I've been able to buy a house and new vehicles and go on vacations and contribute to the growth of Plympton County. And I know that this facility will do the same for others, many others as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. There, next speaker?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carla Moffett. I'm here speaking on behalf of my husband, Dan Moffett, and myself. We own a 1-acre property at 5544 Confederation Line, as well as we live in town at 557 Sarnia Street. We formally oppose the rezoning request tonight put forward. We share the same serious concerns outlined by many of our friends from Wanstead tonight. But this opposition is also deeply personal for us, as it hits the highlights of a very critical public health matter. My mom passed away from Klinefelter-Jacobs disease, and that's the human form of mad cow. She lived on Churchill Line, so very close to it is in our community. Her illness was devastating and tragic, and a tragic experience for our entire family. Because of her death, we are acutely aware of the potential for environmental transmission of this type of neurodegenerative disease. We are very concerned that a livestock washing facility and its runoff water could contaminate our land and our water supply with very harmful infectious proteins. This is not a hypothetical risk for our family. It is a very real fear rooted in a very personal tragedy. We cannot support a project that we knowingly could introduce this risk to our community's water and land, meaning Plympton-Wyoming entirely. Lastly, I'd like to discuss the applicant's history of his non-compliance with local bylaws. It has been proven tonight that the applicant has a pattern of building structures without proper zoning approval or building permits. This behavior raises a critical question. How can we, as a community, be confident that he would potentially not adhere to the strict environmental and operational regulations required for his livestock washing plant? We are also concerned about the rezoning. If the rezoning is approved, that the new facility will not be built or operate to code, in which will directly impact our properties and infrastructures. Additionally, we are concerned about the double standard in bylaw enforcement. We were required to comply with the Tidy Yards bylaw and paid the associated county fees and inspection costs. Approving these requests would set a bad precedent, effectively rewarding a lack of compliance that he continues to show disregard for the residents who follows the rules. In closing, I can urge the town council to consider the potential environmental damage, critical public health concern, and the safety of everyone involved. We respectfully request you to deny this zoning request.
Okay, thank you, Carla. Are there any other folks that would like to speak? That feel a perspective hasn't been shared?
My name is Robin Belanger, and I live at the corner of Layton Street and Confederation. I love my neighbors. I have for years. And this all puts me in a very painful, difficult spot. But since this has begun, the proposal has begun, I have concerns as well, but my perspective is slightly different. And sir, if I violate any rules, please, I will respectfully stop. I would like to take this opportunity tonight to ask the person or persons who share their feelings about this by stopping in front of our home late at night and spinning their tires or blowing on their horn to please stop. I also didn't appreciate the air being let out of my tire on my car. I'm assuming you thought it was Pat's car as we drive the same kind of vehicle. I didn't realize this until it almost caused an accident for me on London Line. You know who you are. I know who you are. You are here in attendance tonight. We have security cameras now, and if it continues, the police will be involved. Please show some maturity and self-control through this miserable process. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Pat?
Thank you, Brian. Want to thank everybody for coming out. I know some of you guys are not for the project and some are. It's good that you can be heard. It's good that you can express your concerns. Everything that I've heard is valid, and so I encourage that to continue that. Something about the project that we've been working on very hard is to make it a good project. And it's I should say proposed project because it's still proposed. We worked hard at cleaning things up. We've worked hard at giving people jobs. We've created a nice space out there. We've enjoyed it. We also live there. So those may not know, we live on the corner of Layton and Confed. We've always been good neighbors. We'll continue to be good neighbors, and that won't change. We're not going to move, and so our workspace will be down the road. We'll make sure it stays compliant with everything that's put in front of us, whether it be the town, the county, government, all of that. So again, thank you everybody for coming out, and I really appreciate being part of this. Everyone's time is valuable, and we understand that.
Okay, thank you, Pat.
Hi, my name's Ron Race.
Thanks,
No,
Ron.
I know I'm not a resident. Sorry, no, I'm not a resident of Wanstead, and I understand that how that could be viewed, but I've known Pat for a long time. I've worked in between my normal line of work. I've worked for him and got to know him pretty well, I think. And my appeal is just going to be to council. You know, we've heard some very moving, emotional, and fact-based, possibly arguments. Oh, I won't even say possibly. I would just ask you to really listen to both sides. Wouldn't it be great if there could be a win-win somehow? I've known Pat as an entrepreneurial kind of guy. Thank God for entrepreneurial business people who create jobs, and I've always been the beneficiary of that. Somewhere along the line, all of us are dependent on someone who made the investments, took the risks, and provided jobs. And I know that doesn't mean, you know, you abuse a community if that's what it is. But I would just say that in a forum like this, thankfully, the concerns are being aired, and that's what I would hope you guys would hear, and that that you would also, that gives Pat an opportunity to speak to every one of those things. Yeah, so I had a 5-minute here, but I think I'm down to 2 minutes, you said. So I want to speak real quickly, but I think there's so many of the things that were raised that you need to listen to the other side. Like I keep hearing the strawberry building thing. Like look into all these things. Was that just an example of what the building might be used for? I don't know how things are written into bylaws or zoning things. Or I can't imagine building a large structure and saying that will only, like if you invested that money in a large building on your property, are you saying that can never be used for blueberries or something else? Like, I'm just saying there's on all those things. If I can just finish with the closing that I did have. Finally, I've known Pat to be an unempathetic person. I don't believe for a minute he would callously disregard any true legitimate concerns by local residents. Rather, I believe he would put himself in their shoes and try to do all he reasonably can to mitigate the issues. Again, in your deliberations as a council, I hope that along with the concerns, you will also listen to the solutions offered and that you will be able to steer to a win-win outcome.
Okay,
if
thank you,
that's
Ron.
possible. Thanks, yeah.
Okay. Jessica? Can you pull the mic down a little bit, Jess, so we can hear you? And
Hi there. As everybody knows, my name's Jessica Jessam. I want to make something very clear. The permit for 5309 Layton Street has not been closed. It is still open, and it was submitted under the guise of a strawberry storage facility. The current property also has a cease and desist order where the developer is ignoring it daily. Thank you.
okay, thank you, Jessica. Are there any other folks that would like to comment here? Seeing none coming to the mic, the next and last section is if any of the counselors have a specific question that they'd like to pose to anyone in the room, and you're not obliged to answer it, but you, if you wish, you may. And counselors, we would ask you to go to the mic if you have a specific question that would add value to your ability to make a decision. And as I said, you are then invited to respond if you wish, but if you don't, that's fine as well. So are there any counselors that have a specific question? Okay, I see nods of no all along, and that would mean that's the last part of our 5-part plan. And I would like to, first of all, thank you for the respect that you've shown in this evening. There's a lot of points come out, many emotional and factual and whatever. So I commend you on that and the respect you've shown for each other. And at this point, I would like to turn it back to the mayor for the official adjournment.
Thank you, Brian, and everybody, thank you very much for your professionalism tonight. It's certainly very much appreciated. Council, I'm going to go to item 16.1 on the agenda. I have a motion by Councillor Bojan, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren, that the presentations and the correspondence that's been submitted as part of this public meeting be received. All those in favor? That's carried. I'll go to our next motion. Moved by Councillor Rodriguez, seconded by Councillor Bojan, that the report by Jordan Folkens, planning consultant, BM Ross and Associates Limited, dated August the 14th, 2024, regarding zoning bylaw amendment application 38 of 2024 be received. Council, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? That is carried. And I have a motion by Councillor Vaizey, seconded by Councillor Wolbett, that bylaw 95 of 2025 being a bylaw to confirm all resolutions of the council meeting held September the 3rd, 2025 be taken as read 3 times and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Council, all those in favor? That is carried. And our final motion for the evening, moved by Councillor Wolbett, seconded by Councillor Vaizey, that the public meeting be adjourned. Council, all those in favor? That motion is carried. Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.